Alright, everyone, welcome back. So we continue our 2023-2024 season previews with the Winnipeg Jets. And the Jets are a team that, like Boston, like we talked about in the last episode, they're in a weird spot right now. They really are in a weird spot because they're in that place where they're between being a contender and being in a rebuild. They're like just in the middle of it all, really. So this past year, they went 46, 33, and 3 for 95 points. They were 14th in the NHL, and they lost in round one to the Vegas Golden Knights in 5 games. That was obviously a series where, and it was obviously a season where, like, the first half of the year, they were great. Like, the first half of the year, they were top of the division. They were playing awesome. And then the second half was slowly just like a fall to the bottom of the wild cards and all that stuff. And then they lost in 5 games to Vegas. It was weird. Like, they started just falling off a cliff in like December or January, and it showed. And Rick Bowness spoke out very vocally about how he didn't like the way the Jets were playing. They were playing with no effort and no nothing. And this offseason really showed they were ready to move into that new era of Winnipeg Jets hockey. Key departures are as follows. Blake Wheeler, Pierre-Luc Dubois, David Riddick, and Sam Gagner. So Blake Wheeler, the captain of this team for such a long time, one of the few remaining Atlanta Thrashers players still playing in the NHL. He's gone now off to the Rangers. Can't say it's a bad move, to be honest, because he did get stripped of his captaincy, and there obviously was something more there than we know of, for sure. Pierre-Luc Dubois was obviously traded to LA. He's obviously that one guy who just wants to leave everywhere he goes. But LA got a pretty good haul out of him, so that's not bad whatsoever. Or Winnipeg got a pretty good haul out of him, not LA. David Riddick, he actually went to LA too, I believe, so he's one of their tandems. And then Sam Gagner too, a solid bottom 6 center. I don't believe he's signed right now, if I'm correct. He might be on a PTO, but I'm not entirely too sure as of right now. Key arrivals, you got Alex Iafallo, Gabriel Velarde, Rasmus Kupari, Laurent Brossoit, and Colin Delia. So we'll start off with the 3 guys from the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. Iafallo and Velarde, great top 6 forwards. They help out in that top 6 a lot in replacing Blake Wheeler and Pierre-Luc Dubois. They're really good replacements too because they're younger, and they definitely have the assets to be a solid top 6 forward guys. Kupari, most likely just a bottom 6 guy, a 4th liner at best. That's really what he was in Los Angeles. He could possibly be something more in LA, but really, I'm not entirely too sure there. And then Brossoit and Delia, they're guys that are just going to be, well, the backup in the 3rd string. Brossoit coming back after beating Vegas in 5 games. So, there's that. But yeah, obviously he's a solid backup. I'd say a better one than David Riddick, if I'm being honest with you. I'll look at the lineup here. This is via the Hockey News. I didn't make this. Don't yell at me. But regardless, your top 6 is Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Nikolai Ehlers. Your second line is Alex Iafallo, Gabriel Velarde, and Nino Niederreiter. That's a solid top 6. That's really not that bad of a top 6 whatsoever. You got Connor scoring goals, Scheifele and Ehlers feeding him the puck. You got some young guys there in Iafallo and Velarde. And, of course, Niederreiter was acquired in last year's deadline, so a solid forward there as well. The bottom 6 is where it has its issues. That's where the issues lie, in my opinion. 3rd line, Cole Perfetti, Adam Lowry, and Mason Appleton. 4th line, Morgan Barron, David Gustafson, and Nansen Harkins. Not Nansen Harkins. Vladislav Nemestikov. That is not a bad, it's not a horrible bottom 6, but it could be better. Adam Lowry, great 3rd line center. Perfetti had a great young rookie season before getting injured. Appleton, a solid 3rd liner. And then the 4th line is where I have the most concern. Those guys aren't bad, but they're just like, eh. Baron, I don't even know if he's played games yet in the NHL. Gustafson, not a bad 4th line center. And then the Nemesnikov, he's all right. And then for some backup guys there, you got Axel Johnson Fajalbi. And then you got Rasmus Kupari and Jansen Harkins as fill-in players that will fill into the lineup. It is possible that a guy like Kupari could very well make the roster out of training camp. That is something I see happening for sure. So, that is possible. But overall, their forward core isn't terrible. But of course, they're still in that weird spot where they may need to go for a rebuild or a retool, kind of. Fourth line defense, not fourth line. Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello is your first pairing. Brendan Dillon, Neil Pionk as your second pairing. Dylan Sandberg, Nate Schmidt as your third pairing. Vinny Villahanola, Declan Chisholm as your extra D-man, and then Capo Bianco is another guy there too. So, obviously, I talked about Chisholm in a prospect pool overview video. I think he's NHL ready, so he could make the lineup out of camp on that blue line. But, of course, that defense, it's not terrible. Morrissey, great D-man. DeMello's solid. Dillon's all right. Pionk's good. Solid top 4D there overall. They have a good defense, so I think they'll be all right. And then for goaltending, obviously, there's the most questions there as well, actually. You got Connor Hellebuck and Laurent Brossoit, then you got Colin Delia as a third stringer. So I look at Winnipeg there, and I look at Connor Hellebuck. He's expiring this coming year, and there are talks that he is going to get traded, whether it's before the season starts or at the trade deadline. He's more than likely going to get traded, unless if he's changed his mind about staying in Winnipeg, honestly. And with Hellebuck, there's a lot. It's going to be interesting to see what they're going to get back in return for him. They made out pretty well with Dubois. I can only imagine what they can make out with Hellebuck if they play their cards right. Now, I've been hearing the Devils. The Devils are the biggest team that I've been hearing a lot be talked about. That is possible, of course. That very well could happen. But as of right now, it's really just all up in the air where he's going to go or not. The biggest X factor for me is the bottom six. Can the bottom six provide the right secondary scoring to help this team out come when it matters most? And I think they could. I think it's a solid bottom six overall. Just hopefully Perfetti and Lowry. Well, Lowry's always been on the third line. Just hopefully Perfetti and guys like that can help out on the third line and the bottom six and, play well, of course. But yeah, apart from that, I think they're in a good spot. My biggest question is, where do they go from here? Like, what is this season going to be like in Winnipeg? They're in that weird spot where, like, I feel like they want to retool, but they have a good enough roster where they could make the playoffs. I look at this team. That's not a bad roster where they could make the playoffs. It's very possible in that Central Division. Because you're battling with Dallas, Colorado, Minnesota, and then St. Louis. Probably Nashville's going to be in the mix there. Arizona could very well be in the mix. Yeah, Winnipeg has a good chance of getting a wild card spot there. It's only battling with teams in the Pacific Division is where you're going to have to fight off there. But yeah, overall, I don't really hate their team too much, if I'm being honest. Your point projections are as follows, and these are via the Hockey News' fantasy guide. Not me, I didn't make these. You have first leading scorer Kyle Connor at 82 points. You have Mark Scheifele at 75 points. Josh Morrissey at 60 points. Nikolai Ehlers at 58 points. And Gabriel Velarde at 54 points. Makes a lot of sense there. Kyle Connor having an 80-point season. I think he could have more than that, though. There is possible he could have more than just 82 points. Your sleeper or your bust is actually Cole Perfetti. With a sea change here, Cole Perfetti will be the focus of the Jets' new core. There's a path for him to become the top line forward for years to come, and he will build a promising though injury shortened sophomore season. So yeah, Perfetti's a big one there. Probably going to play on the third line, unless if guys like Kyle Connor and other guys like that get traded soon, or other guys on that forward core. I doubt Connor gets dealt. I can't really see that happening. But yeah, Perfetti has a chance to get some top 6 minutes there and be a solid player overall. So yeah, regardless, I see the Jets probably being a wild card team at best. I can't see them being a top 3 in the division team, really. They're just not there right now. But yeah, they're in that weird spot where they're going towards that rebuild, so that's really all you need to worry about right now. But regardless, that is your 23-24 season preview for the Winnipeg Jets. Thank you for watching. Excuse me, if you enjoy me, should like, share, and down below. I really appreciate it. Our next one is the Minnesota Wild, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.